What is globalization? Globalization is an established part of the modern world, so most of us do not realize the benefit it brings to our everyday lives, such as easy access to a variety of different currencies or new technologies developed by countries have a world wave. Even though globalization make our lives better, it does bring some challenge as companies start to grow and expand across border. What is development? Development is a process that creates growth, progress, positive change, or the addition of physical, economic, environmental, social, and demographic components. The purpose of development is a rise in the level and quality of life of the population and the creation or expansion of local regional income and employment opportunities without damaging the resources of the environment. Development is visible and useful, not necessary immediately, and includes an aspect of quality change and the creation of condition for a continuation of that change.
What is sustainable development? Sustainable development is the organizing principle for meeting human development goals while simultaneously sustaining the ability of natural systems to provide the natural resources and ecosystems services on which the economy and society depend. The desired result is a state of society where living conditions and resources are used to continue to meet human needs without undermining the integrity and stability of the natural system. Sustainable development can be defined as development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Sustainability goals, such as the current UN-level Sustainable Development Goals, address the global challenges including poverty, inequality, climate change, environmental degradation, peace, and justice. The concept of sustainable development has been and still is subject to criticism, including the question of what is to be sustained in sustainable development. It has been argued that there is no such thing as a sustainable use of non-renewable resources, since any positive rate of exploitation will eventually lead to the exhaustion of Earth's finite stock. This perspective renders the Industrial Revolution as a whole unsustainable. It has also been argued that the meaning of the concept has opportunistically been stretched from conservation management to economic development, and that the Brundtland report promoted nothing but a business as usual strategy for world development, with an ambiguous and substantial concept attached as a public relations slogan. Sustainability can be defined as the practice of maintaining world processes of productivity indefinitely, natural or human-made, by replacing resources used with resources of equal or greater value without degrading or endangering natural biotic systems. Sustainable development ties together concern for the carrying capacity of natural systems with the social, political, and economic challenges faced by humanity. Sustainability science is the study of the concepts of sustainable development and environmental science. There is an additional focus on the present generation's responsibility to regenerate, maintain, and improve planetary resources for use by future generations. Here are some examples of sustainable development. Wind energy. Harnessing wind energy to provide power for homes, offices, and other buildings or to pump water is one of the best examples of sustainable development. After all, wind is a free resource. If you live in an area with good wind, it's possible to supplement or replace grid power at no cost once you've invested in a windmill. Solar energy. Energy from the sun is available in limitless supply in most areas. Installing a photovoltaic system allows energy from the sun to be harnessed to replace or supplement grid power without the need to use up resources that are not renewable. Crop rotation. Crops is a chemical-free way to maximize the growth potential of gardening land as well as to diminish the presence of disease in the soil. This example of sustainable development can benefit home gardeners as well as commercial farmers. Hydropower sustainability. Not only is hydropower sustainable, it is also environment friendly. Hydropower is clean energy since it doesn't produce any air pollutions or release any toxins into the environment. Fish passages in dams allows fish to move freely about the dams and into river sections. Communities powered by hydropower enjoy cleaner air and water than cities not powered by hydropower. Green spaces. Incorporating green spaces into urban development is an example of sustainable development. This practice encourages wildlife to stay and provides opportunities to enjoy outdoor recreation even in major metropolitan area. Advantages of sustainable development. Lower environmental impact. The main pillar on which all this is sustained and where ideas take shape to develop the economy without compromising nature, as it involves reducing the emissions of gases that create phenomena such as acid rain or global warming. It directly causes the search for alternative, clean, and equally effective forms of energy. In the same way, as a large part of human activities are responsible for the deterioration of the environment, adopting this ideology entails doing something to reduce pollution, which can bring positive results such as better air quality, more green areas, and preservation of biodiversity of the planet, the subsistence of more species, etc. Guarantee of a better future. With the current situation of the delicate environment, the fact that actions are taken to reduce the effect of the warming of the land or the other events such as the melting of the poles or changes in such an abnormal climate guarantees that the next generations of people can have an adequate life in the future. This also means ensuring that planet's natural resources are not exhausted and there is enough to be renewed, or if not, that they last for a good number of years, as in the case of oil or gas natural. Disadvantages of sustainable development. Cost. Although intentions are good, carrying them out cost work because it is about reducing or completely dispensing with energy that already supplies part of the population with a new one. Changing infrastructure, consumption habits, and this whole transition can be very expensive. In this sense, the perspective also influences from the point of view, because the countries of the first world would not have much difficulty in adopting new forms of energy, but in the developing nations, it would not be possible to assume these expenses. Unemployment in some areas. Changes to preserve and care for ecosystems and biodiversity can cause several industries to reduce their activities or, in the last case, stop them altogether. This can bring unemployment for many people who have dedicated their whole lives to work in a single sector such as the coal industry. Although in sustainability, a better quality of life is contemplated in the future, it does not take into account the collateral effects for the population in the present. Fragile commitment. As the transition to a more environmentally friendly industry is more costly and difficult to meet because of the points mentioned above, there is a risk that the commitment made with the society is not so serious. This inconvenience would occur because the results obtained are generally long-term. But in places that are just developing, it may not be possible to wait so long. Last, more requirements. The companies, plants, factories, and other responsible for affecting the environment would have more requirement to function, such as reducing carbon dioxide emissions or correct treatment of their waste. And although they seem necessary and common sense, not everyone could meet them without compromising their efficiency and their work. In addition to the entry requirements, would be very high for small companies.
Three pillars of sustainable development. Sustainability is often represented diagrammatically. The figure at the right suggests that there are three pillars of sustainability: economic viability, environmental protection, and social equity. Social sustainability is the ability of a social system such as a country, family, or organization to function at a defined level of social well-being and harmony indefinitely. Problems like war, endemic poverty, widespread injustice, and low education rates are symptoms of a system is socially unsustainable. Environmental sustainability is the ability of the environment to support a defined level of environmental quality and natural resource rates indefinitely. This is the world's biggest actual problem now, though since the consequences of not solving the problems are delayed, the problem receives too low priority to solve. Sustainability is the ability of the economy to support a defined level economy production indefinitely. Since the Great Recession of 2008, this is the world's biggest apparent problem, which endangers progress on the environment sustainability problem. Sustainability of globalization may or may not flow in similar for all countries. Some of them, like United Kingdom and Japan, might experience a better local atmosphere due to the globalization process, while others, like Bangladesh, Mexico, can experience a declining and fading environment. The same thing is applicable to the economic or social effects of the globalization procedure. Moreover, sustainable development is one of the areas of globalization that may not essentially be connected to sustainable growth in other domains, and what is practical for a nation might not be possible for the international environment. Of course, the desired result of globalization, or for most people, is one in which the global environment and society and economic system develop sustainably and all domestic environments improve, including the welfare of all nations. This complexity of the globalization procedures hence calls for a truly unified approach, joining social, economic, as well as ecological characteristics. Under a globalizing domain, policymakers should be conscious of the growths that take place altogether in different fields, and the growing interconnectedness requires being the initial point of sustainable international policies. If the global economic process and the consumerism do have poisoning side effects, the particular direction these dynamics require to achieve justifiable future needs to be inquired. The long-existing growth versus environment tension can be exposed, for which the term sustainable development has been invented. The demands for ecological protection and economic growth are supposed to be conflicting. It is claimed to be an everlasting competition by some, whereas others highlight a potential win-win situation. Every feature of society is affected by globalization. Effect of globalization is the increasing popularity of regional currencies areas to both foster international trade and decrease the likelihood of further financial crisis. Within the realm of energy, there is a growing importance for the utilization of sustainable resources as a replacement for depleting supplies of environmentally unfriendly fossil fuels, and for making sure that they are available worldwide. Sustainability, as it pertains to agriculture, puts emphasis on the implementation of practices that do not degrade the land or oceans used to provide crops, livestock, and fish. These problems affect the world as a whole because it has only finite resources, so global policies regulating these practices become paramount. Due to the interconnection of the various facets of society, moving towards a global sustainable civilization is imperative. Without global cooperation, such as sustainability, cannot be achieved. However, not every aspect of globalization is feasible or desirable. It is important to truly explore each part of human culture that will be affected of globalization in order to fully understand its consequences. Only after careful evaluation of the pieces that build the puzzle of society, it is possible to draw conclusions about globalization as a whole.
Why sustainable development is a global issue? Sustainable development is a overused word but goes to the heart of tackling a number of interrelated global issues such as poverty, inequality, hunger, and environmental degradation. Development that is sustainable and not damaging to the planet is very possible. In reality, there are a lot of politics and challenges involved in global issues of sustainable development. What is needed to achieve sustainable development? It can be summarized as follows: eradicate poverty, hunger, guaranteeing a healthy life, universalize access to the basic services such as water, sanitation, and sustainable energy. Support the generation of development opportunities through inclusive education and decent work. Benefits of sustainable development for the society. Sustainable development is about improving the quality of the economy, not the size of it. The fact is we need a better economy, not a bigger one. Though we need a bigger one, but we should make it better. Sustainable practices will make the economy better through reduced consumption overall and more equable distribution of wealth. People's lives will be richer through better quality products and services.